had a website, but it was almost like a vanity project back then. Now it is like an entrance fee to have a business.
Good. Hey, I wanted to let you know that the Google guarantee, the Google ads, man, I'm getting 12 to 16 calls a week.
My goal is at least do 10 to 15 more years, grow it up, sell it for 40, 50 million, maybe more.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Titan Talks. My name is Jonathan Stern. I'm an engineer at Topline Pro, but once a week, I have the honor of sitting down with successful home service entrepreneurs to discuss their journeys to success. Today is October 18th, 2023, and my guest is Brian Emde of Ozark Deck Company, a construction and remodeling company in Northwest Arkansas. The company specializes in new deck construction, deck repair, custom rail, pergolas, and docks. Brian's been with Topline Pro for almost 2 years now, so we're thrilled to hear about how his business has grown over that time, and most importantly, where he wants to go from here. Brian, thanks so much, and welcome to Titan Talks.
Hey, thank you. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
And we are thrilled to have you. To kick things off, let's hear about how you got started in deck construction.
Oh man, it's kind of a pretty wild story. So I was in the Army for about 10 years. I was a paratrooper, and I got out, made my transition into the civilian workforce, and it was just it was a shit show. It was pretty difficult. I couldn't find anything that I really liked doing, and after a series of jobs, I started working for a deck builder locally. He was behind on a lot of projects. I had some experience in carpentry. I knew how to cut, and he really needed help managing things. And I was always fascinated with entrepreneurship, business, sales. In the Army, I was a staff sergeant, so I had a plethora of leadership experience, and I was able to kind of get things on track for him. And come to find out, he wasn't licensed, wasn't insured. There was just a bunch of big red flags. He wanted me to sign a non-compete agreement and all this stuff, and I was like, man, I've given you so much knowledge, and I've put everything into helping you, and it just kind of felt really weird. So I went home one day and I told my wife, babe, I think I just want to build decks for myself, and I think I'll be just fine. So. Really, I quit with him one day, and the next day I had my first build already lined up. It was just kind of one of those lucky deals on Facebook, and that gave me a couple weeks or probably about a week of build time while I was able to find my next build, and it snowballed into this. I didn't think it would have been as big as it is now in just 3 years of business.
So I got to ask, he asked you to sign a non-compete, but then
Yeah.
you were able to get going the next day. How do you get around that?
Yeah, so he had asked me a couple weeks before to sign a non-compete, and I told him it's just not something I'm interested in. And I said I understand if that's something that you don't like, but I don't think that that's really fair to do, especially when he was kind of his business wasn't doing well, and I came in and helped and stuff, and I kind of just didn't feel right about it. And then the second time he presented it to me was after we finished a bunch of projects, and he said that it was our crossroads, and I was like, well, I mean, if it's our crossroads, I really think that that I'm just gonna go off and do my own thing. It kind of pushed me into the direction that I should have gone anyways. Starting a business is a scary thing, though. I was kind of backed into a corner to where I was like, look, when I got out of the military, I had 12 different jobs my first year I got out, and nothing was making me happy until I started building decks. Like being outside, building stuff, started really finding some peace in that. And getting pushed out of that like I did kind of put me in a position where I should have been to begin with.
Did you always want to be a business owner, or did it click as you started to have the falling out with your former boss?
I always wanted to be a business owner, but I never really had the balls to do it, I guess.
Until
And
you,
until I was forced to.
until you were forced to, and you made the decision, and there was no turning back. What was it like in your mind? I mean, were you nervous? Were you scared?
No, I was focused. I think that one thing that I learned in the Army is if you are in situations where you can't fail, you won't fail. And what I mean by that is, if everything depends on it, then you're going to make it work. And if you don't, then it's a learning lesson, and then you just keep pushing forward and make adjustments as you go. Excuse me. When I started, man, it was the first year was all learning, and a lot of our projects were total losses. But with that, we kept moving forward. We kept adjusting as we went along, and we found a system that works. And yeah, it's been a wild ride, and it's been a good experience.
So you said the very first day that you started out on your own, you had a job lined up, but then throughout the first year, there were a few mistakes. Give us an example of something that you didn't do so well in your first year that you
Yeah.
corrected,
Hey,
a year two.
I'll be happy to touch on that. So the price is everything, and I feel like having a solid sales process and being able to build value is everything. That's what's going to grow your business. When I was starting out, I figured, okay, it's important to hold a certain margin, but if I need to negotiate a deal, I can negotiate the price some. So there was some awesome customers that we had. Love them to death. They were our first real big project, and it was probably 4 to 6 months into work or into business. And they're very business savvy people. They negotiate very well. I had thought that I was prepared to handle negotiations very well, but I think they knew that I wanted this job really bad. It was a 2-level deck, over 1,000 square feet, right on the lake. It would have made for great pictures. And I was like, look, I've got to take this job. So I had a rough square footage pricing that I based everything off of, and it came out to a certain price. And they were able to negotiate that price about $10,000 with everything said and done. And everything checked out on paper. In my head, I was like, look, I may not make much on it, but at least I'll have the experience in the pictures. That put me in a very hard position, especially towards the end of the project. Everything was running out. We were very low on funds. We were very low on time. It was a much bigger project than I anticipated. But that was my biggest mistake I made starting off, because the progress we had made up to that point kicked us all the way back to maybe the first 3 weeks in business. So it was good that it happened, though, because it was that moment I realized, look, I really need to value my pricing. I need to understand that my pricing is what it is. If someone feels like they need more value, then I didn't do my job representing my company's value, our process, and what we offer.
How thin were your margins on this particular project?
It was like 3 or 4%.
You did
Yeah.
you did get out of there in the green.
Yes, luckily it was just wasted. I would hate to call it wasted time. It was just one of those things where, we didn't get anything out of it other than the pictures and experience, which, the experience part is huge. So we were compensated in other ways.
How is it that they were able to, because you said you went into it knowing your price per square foot, knowing what you needed to make on it. How is it that they were able to negotiate the price down? Did you
Well,
just
so,
want the job too much, basically, or how did
yeah,
that
so
go?
I'm still I wouldn't say super close with them, but we still chat regularly. they had other people looking at the project. They said, "Hey, look, your price is coming in at this. I don't know why, but you're like $10,000 higher than everyone else." That I'm not saying they were fibbing, but if I was negotiating, I would potentially use that as a gambit to take some off the price because I was new to the business. I had been following what the average square footage pricing was for builds and basing my pricing off that to stay competitive with other deck builders. But I listened to that and I heard, well, that means that it can be done cheaper. So I've got to see if I can make it work. And I'm sure you know how it is. Whenever you put things on paper and you see, okay, material is this. We didn't have any overhead hardly at that point. I was working out of my garage, so I was like, I've got to pay my guys this, and insurance is this. I was like, well, I can make it work for that. But I didn't take into account, it was a huge project, and it took a week and a half to 2 weeks longer than what I projected. And it was
How long did it take in all, Brian?
it's hard to say now. It's been about 3 years, but I would say it was probably a 4 or 5 week build. It should have probably taken about 3 weeks.
And did you have employees working with you, or was
Yeah.
it you on the project?
Yeah, so that's one thing that I'm super proud of with my company is we have almost zero turnover.
In
The
3 years?
first Yeah, the first 2 guys I hired, I actually hired them onto the last company I worked for, because I was helping manage. I had known them previously, and I put out an ad looking for people to help. And so I had hired him on with this other guy, and when I had left, things were just really rocky in that environment. So when I had left and I posted that, hey, the ball's rolling. We got our first job going tomorrow. I was super proud of it. So I was on social media about it. My now, foreman was like, hey, look, me and this other guy, we want to come with you. And yeah, so they were with me for the very first job as Ozark Deck Company. And then we've grown from there. We have a total of 6 employees, including myself and my wife, and then 4 guys in the field. And I forget what your initial question was.
Oh, I was just asking employees at the time. Maybe.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, we had 3 guys. We had 3 guys helping.
Okay. Maybe this is a good opportunity to turn to business today. You said 4 employees in the field, 6 total, including your wife. As you make the decision to add additional employees, what goes into that decision?
Oh, it's a scary thought, because when I bring someone on, it feels like there's more of a commitment from me to them than them to the operation. Not saying that, nobody's going to be committed to the operation. I'm just saying that I am committing to this individual, that I'm going to support you and your family. I just need you to show up, but I will provide you with the hours, the funds, the compensation for your time. And that's a scary thought, especially when, a foreman position isn't a cheap role to fill. Same thing with like a lead carpenter or, a carpenter in general. Now even laborers are pretty expensive, which is fine. But whenever I decide, okay, we're going to bring someone else on, it's like, holy crap, I've got to make sure that we can support that. And on top of that, I've got to make sure that we can support that and then see the benefit from it. So no, it's a huge commitment. It's a pretty scary thing. I'd like to bring 2 more people on and have my 2 crews, be 2 crews of 3 guys. But going into the slow season, we're going to wait it out. And I kind of bounce the 2 crews into 1 crew to, expedite a project and then split them up on 2 small ones. So it's just kind of a balancing act.
Tell me about your role today. Are you in the field at all anymore? Or
Nope.
have you left that work for the others and the foreman?
Man, I can't grow my company while I'm laying down deck boards. I have to realize too that I put my employees in positions for a reason. And I've got to trust them, and I've got to be offsite, and I've got to be selling jobs. I've got to be pulling permits. I've got to be, talking to vendors and trying to grow my business any means necessary. I've got people in place for certain reasons. I've got a foreman for a certain reason. I've got lead carpenters and carpenters on site for a certain reason. I am not whatsoever able to let my business grow if I'm mostly concerned about laying down deck boards and micromanaging the crew. That's my foreman's job.
Yep.
It frees up time for me to be able to market my company, to answer leads, to go out to take a look at jobs and keep our calendar full. Um, yeah, I that's one big thing that a lot of people when they go out on their own that I've noticed, they don't want to put the tool bag down. They wanna keep the tool bag on. They want to run the job sites, and they don't know why their business isn't growing.
Yep. Would love to hear about the marketing side of things, generating leads, and really just turning Ozark into this big company in Northwest Arkansas.
Yeah.
How is it that you get new jobs? Where are they coming from?
Hey, great question. And it's funny you say that. Ozark Deck Company being a big company in Northwest Arkansas. Look, I feel like we've been around for a few years now, and I try not to piss anybody off. We were literally like unheard of, obviously, when we first started. And after a couple years, we did turn into something that people start talking about. The biggest thing is when people post something on Facebook saying, "Hey, I need a deck guy," or "I need some deck repairs," or "Hey, my dock is falling apart. Who do I reach out to?" And the one of the best feelings is seeing either my name be tagged or Ozark Deck Company be tagged, especially when it's by people I've never even met before in my life. S- So to comment off of the big company in Northwest Arkansas, I don't think we're that big, but whenever I see stuff like that, it makes me feel like, wow, there's probably a little bit more to it than I even know about or that I expect. I think we do have a pretty good reach in the area. As far as getting jobs and marketing, a lot of our work speaks for itself. And whenever we have these high ticket decks that are for clients that are in certain areas, they talk to each other, they pass phone numbers around. My two biggest resources that I heavily depend on is the work that you guys do, but also that word to mouth. I don't do anything on Facebook anymore. I don't do anything on any social media platform. With the phone calls I get in through our website and through word to mouth, we stay pretty busy.
Are the phone calls mostly coming from people who find either your website or your Google business profile?
It's a pretty strong mix.
Okay.
And I should have the data on that, but I don't follow it so much. But I want to say it's probably a 60-40 split. 60% being from online presence and the 40% being from word to mouth.
And when you say online presence, no Facebook at all anymore. It's really strictly Google and strictly.
No, you guys helped me out with the Facebook business page and posting stuff.
Yep.
I don't even I don't know if it sounds irresponsible to me, but I don't pay attention to much of it. I review what's going to go up, and that's about it.
Yep.
No Facebook, no Facebook. It's Google Business, my website, and word of mouth. And so there's another couple things. Like I've gotten really big with my vendors. I've got my banners in front of their store that are massive. That we just do so much work. They let me do stuff like that. I think that taking a unorthodox approach to marketing is important, and I think just asking is what gets you there. So, you know, I, I had a buddy who owns a deck business locally say, "Hey, I saw your banner. That's really cool. How'd you get them to let you do that?" I was like, "Well, I just asked. I just said, hey, can I put my banner up here? I spend a crap load of money here. And yeah, they let me do it. A lot of places let me do it.
What's one thing you've learned about marketing that you didn't know 3 years ago?
Um, you know, I'm just a guy trying to figure it all out. But I think that um in order to get recognized, you have to have a culture. I think that if you have a certain culture and you have a certain presence, whether it's your individuals representing your company or your online presence or what your logos say. Um, and this sure doesn't have it, but I've got a logo that's got a little 50s era head on it that says "Call us" or "Screw it up yourself." It's kind of stupid, kind of cheesy, but you wouldn't believe how many people call me and say, "Hey, I just wanted to let you know I saw that. I think it's hilarious, and we have some small repair stuff. If you want to come check it out, it's the most bizarre thing in the world." So I think culture, keeping things light, keeping things fun, and whenever you approach each day, if you don't approach it like you're going to work, if you approach it like you're just living your life, I think it's a whole lot easier to kind of, notice little things that you can do differently to attract a certain person.
How many jobs do you have on the calendar, and how do you keep it all organized? How do you,
Well,
how do you manage
right,
things?
yeah, right now we only have 3, which is good. There was a point where I think it was February or March of this year, we were booked out until fall. So there was a point this year where we were several months out, but right now we only have 3 jobs on the calendar. I've kind of let it die down a little bit, um, to kind of keep things a little more manageable. It gets hectic whenever there's just so much backlog. But yeah, only 3 jobs on. We're finishing one up today, a beautiful screen room, rough cedar screen room with a composite deck. And then we're going into a dock and just some repair work. But I've been getting like 2 or 3 leads a day. I have a feeling that we'll probably book up our winter pretty quick.
So how do you, so 3 leads a day, say, how do you make the decision about which leads you're going to take on? Is it a pricing thing? Is it
Yeah.
size of the job? Is it the pictures you might get out of it? What goes into that?
Yeah, great question. So, um, we can't take everything, obviously, which doesn't make sense for us to do a lot of repair work that a handyman would do. And I like to be transparent with people and let them know, hey, look, if we take this job, it's going to cost a lot more than if you just hire, a handy guy to come and do it for you. Because it's just how we're structured. So typically what I do is I just have a conversation with anybody that reaches out, and I just get a grasp on the feel for their project. If it's something that is a little on the bigger side, a little higher end composite, cable railing, stuff like that. Then I won't really turn down a treated pine build either. But I I I think that what it comes down to is the customer's expectations and their understanding that, we're not just a group of guys throwing decks up. We're an established company with a strong reputation, and you're going to pay for that. It's just the nature of it. So it, as long as I have a good conversation with this client, I feel like they understand who they're potentially hiring. They have a good feel for what our reputation is in the area, and they want us to take the job. Then a lot of times, what I try to do is get a couple rough estimates over the phone, and then I'll just formulate a very ballpark price for them. Hey, look, I've got some satellite imagery of your property. I've got these pictures off a Zillow listing, and a project like this typically runs in the XYZ range of pricing. And if they are comfortable with that, if they're like, okay, we kind of expected that, which a lot of customers do, they say, okay, we were actually expecting to be right around there. Then I'll say, great. Well, I think it's time that we just figure out a good time for me to come in, and we can take a look at all the measurements and kind of go through the nitty gritty so I can give you guys an accurate price. What I was doing in the beginning is I was just going to everyone's houses right away. As soon as they'd come in, I would drive.
Takes a ton of time.
So it is just so unrealistic. It's not efficient whatsoever. You've got to try to, ballpark a job and set the expectation for that customer. And if they're still interested, then, it's something that's realistic, and you're doing your customer a service at that point too. You're not wasting their time when you say, hey, look, this is what it's going to be. This is what they usually come out to at the end of the day. And that customer goes, oh, I just watched an HGTV show and I thought it was going to be a lot less. Let's go ahead and wait another year. Don't worry about coming out. And, I appreciate it. So I just think it's the right thing to do.
There's obviously virtue in being specialized particularly in business. There are a lot of rewards you get from being narrow in what you do.
Yeah.
You're a master deck construction and remodeling service company. Why is it that you haven't branched out beyond decks? Is that something that you're considering doing? How'd you start with decks, and will you?
Man, that's a cool question.
Will you always be just decks?
Yeah, awesome question. So, I'm very close to obtaining my residential builder's license, and I have another LLC that I created, Ozark Deck Company, and I started slow stepping with where the rates are. I'm like, okay, look, I'm in a safe market right now. People that are in their homes are still needing these repairs, are still wanting to build their decks on this home that they have a 1.5-2% rate on. So I want to just wait and see what the next year or two brings as far as the rate goes. But the plan is to get into custom homes and to get into real estate development. I think that Ozark Deck Company will always be a company, and it'll always be my baby. But you always have to have your eyes set on the next thing. I think that it would be easy for me to say, hey, this is working. Let me just put my head in the sand now and just keep doing this and let it play out. That might be a safe play. But I think that anything that I do, it's just the nature of who I am. I'm always looking at the next thing, while still trying to master and figure out the current thing I'm on. So I always have a goal. I always have a plan. Real estate's the next step.
Awesome. At Titan Talks, we like to close with a rapid fire round. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
What is your personal goal? Why are you doing all this?
Man, I just want my family to be happy. I want my kids to not feel the struggle that I felt as a kid. I want my wife to have the freedom of being able to do what she wants to do. And, I want my kids to be able to look back when they're older and tell their kids that their grandpa, made something out of nothing. I didn't have a very conventional childhood. So, what I'm doing now, I've gone against all the odds. I've beaten so many odds. It's crazy. So I want to keep growing that and kind of leave a legacy and just provide for my family.
Incredible. What advice do you have for home service professionals just starting out?
Especially the ones just starting out. Always check your ego. You'll never grow if you have an ego. If you feel like you've already got it figured out, you'll never get any better. So always leave your ego at home. Learn how to swallow your pride, learn how to take advice, and learn how to constantly teach yourself. I know a lot of people that don't read books because they don't think they need to. I mean, need and should are two different things. It's good to always learn. You don't need to always learn. So it's that ego that gets in the way.
What's been your largest challenge in 3 or 4 years of business?
It's a personal issue that I deal with. Sometimes I get complacent. Sometimes I get into a mindset where I'm like, all right, we've got some jobs. I'm a little stressed out, so I am gonna get my guys what they need and go handle some administrative stuff. I'll go to like a bid and I'll sit on my phone and start to answer emails, but then a game will pop up or something will happen and I'll notice I spend 30 minutes on my phone. It's like I got to snap myself out of it. So, you know, it's true. So I think really the biggest challenge is continuing to push myself every single day as hard as I can, and not letting myself get complacent. Um, and for that to be my biggest challenge, I think things are going pretty all right.
Yep. And finally, would love to hear what's been your proudest moment at the helm of Ozark Deck Company?
Oh, you know, I would say that a big what's the right way to put it? A big friction point in business is employees. Um, I think that it is hard in the trades to lead carpenters and roughnecks and concrete guys, and it's just because of the kind of person it takes to be in the elements and do that kind of work. So I would say that I'm a lucky business owner with the guys that I do have, and I think that my proudest moments are whenever I'm very stressed out on a job, because it happens regularly. Always want things to be perfect. I'm always over the top, and I have to tell my foreman, "Hey, you know what? This is on you. You know what you're doing. I'm going to keep things going in the background. I'll be back on the last day. Whatever you need, you have my trailer. You have the work truck. You've got everything you need to do the job. Um, Call me at the end." And well, I'm still there at our inspecting points, like framing, footings, rough and then finish. But whenever I leave the site for a day or two and then come back and see perfection, it's like, holy crap. Um, you know, I can't ever take the credit for the work. It's always my employees. And whenever they do something that is just, something we can be proud of, something that I can put on our website, something that the customers come out and we've totally blown their expectations out of the water. I think those are the proudest moments for me.
I don't know what to say other than that's just so cool.
It's kind of crazy because I've never even asked myself these questions. So being asked kind of on the spot kind of makes me try to think of 100 different things. But yeah, it's cool to reflect.
Well, thank you so much for being a part of Titan Talks. I have had a really, really fun time hearing your story and getting to know you. I know it's been just, I don't know, 40 minutes or so, but it's been a real treat for me. So thanks for coming on.
Hey, Jonathan, thanks a lot.